I pursued Ethan for 5 years without success. 5 years later, I spotted him among a group of long-legged handsome guys at a KTV. Tipsy and shameless. I grabbed Ethan's hand. "Ethan, kiss me, please?" He obliged. Yet, his embrace and kiss carried inexplicable compassion in his eyes that I couldn't decipher. After graduation, I became a trust fund baby. No sugar daddies. No lottery wins. No miraculous windfalls. Just a sunny afternoon when my dad deadpanned, "You're actually an heiress." I thought he was joking until he slammed down property deeds and a bankbook. Trembling, I verified they were real. All these years believing we were middle class. Turns out my parents were low-key millionaires. Later, when asked why the sudden reveal after decades, Dad groaned, "Got hammered that day. With parental funding, I opened a cozy cave stress-free. Life stayed peaceful until I spent $700 at KTV to book the unattainable crush I'd chased for 5 years. Ethan. Lemon's birthday brought our girl squad to KTV. Drunk and reckless, we decided to splurge on male escorts. There he stood among them, Ethan. Unchanged after 2 years. Still strikingly handsome with those clear eyes. He wore his signature white shirt. Aloof yet magnetic amidst the crowd. 3 of us girls instantly fixated on him. I intercepted, "Ladies, let me have this one." They drunkenly protested until I whispered, "It's Ethan." They froze. They'd heard our story countless times. Soon I sat with Ethan in the dimmest corner. My throat tight. Though paying his fee, I sat rigidly silent. Finally I murmured, "How've you been these 2 years? MHM. His voice cut through the music. The awkward silence broke when my friends ordered more drinks. Ethan wordlessly matched me drink for drink until alcohol emboldened me. After chugging a beer, I slammed the empty bottle down and faced him. His hands, slender, elegant even while holding liquor, mesmerized me. Drunk brave, I pulled cash from my purse and shoved it at him. "Ethan, kiss me, please?" He studied me, then smiled, that rare, starry-eyed smile I'd seldom seen. Glancing at the money, he murmured, "Better make it multiple kisses. Otherwise this feels unethical." As I struggled to process his humor, he leaned in and actually kissed me. My mind went blank. The warm press of lips against mine was something I'd never dared to dream of in all these years. Ethan actually kissed me? My thoughts scrambled as I clutched the collar of his dress shirt, later realizing how foolish that desperate grip must have looked. When he finally pulled back with an amused huff, "Keep tugging like that and you'll strangle me," I released him immediately. The boy I'd once worshipped like a deity now stood before me. Ordinary yet breathtaking. His clear eyes held mine while fingers absently toyed with the cash I'd stuffed into his pocket. My God had descended to walk among mortals. And the tremor in my hidden hands betrayed how desperately I wanted this fallen angel. If money could chain him to my side. Fortune favored my coffee shop against all predictions. The accidental viral cafeno overflowing with influencers daily. Wealth I had in spades. But Ethan remained the elusive treasure. Liquid courage burned down my throat as I drained half the whiskey bottle. Slamming it down, I turned to face him. "Ethan." His answering hum feathered across my skin. Warm and ticklish. "Come home with me?" The words tumbled out before I could choke them back. When his brows drew together over those bottomless eyes, I backtracked hastily. "I mean, if you're in trouble, I can help. Really." His prolonged silence stretched until I nearly retracted the offer. "My needs are substantial." "Doesn't matter." My alcohol-loosened grip trapped his hand. Years of unrequited longing surging forth. "Don't go to other women. Please." The mental image of crisp white shirts sullied by strangers' hands choked me. Something shifted in his demeanor. Playful mask dissolving into solemnity. As I fumbled for my phone to transfer funds, his palm covered mine, searing heat bleeding through skin contact. "Keep it. This," he lifted the cash stack with a humorless smile, "covers one day." My breath hitched. Even the priciest escorts my girlfriends joked about cost less. Yet when he quoted his price, I paid without hesitation. That night, whiskey haze made me bold. Fingers clawing at his buttons in my bedroom, I slurred. I paid good money. Ethan. Ready to be ravaged? His startled laugh died as I suddenly gagged, stomach rebelling. The splatter across his trousers killed whatever fantasy I'd bought. I don't remember much after that. The next morning, I woke up in Ethan's arms, still wearing my nightgown. I lay frozen against his chest as the remnants of alcohol-induced courage evaporated. Trembling, I asked what happened last night. Ethan smiled faintly, those impossibly beautiful eyes crinkling as he arched an eyebrow. Guess. Guess? I yanked the covers back and immediately wished I hadn't. The wine-red stain on the sheets glared back at me. After a prolonged silence, I finally mumbled, I'll take responsibility. Fumbling for my dead phone, I forced an awkward laugh. I'll transfer the payment later today. Okay? Ethan blinked, then nodded without meeting my eyes. Sure. We dressed in heavy silence, though I stole glances when he buttoned his shirt, such beauty wasted on my drunken amnesia. He caught me staring as he wrapped a towel around his hips. Pants are still wet, he explained, nodding toward the balcony where his slacks hung dripping. You washed them last night? You puked on me. My face paled as fragmented memories resurfaced, violent retching. His patient hands cleaning my chin. Rummaging through drawers, I produced and used men's trousers. My brother left these. Ethan examined them without taking. You keep men's clothes here. His tone held casual curiosity rather than accusation. When he disappeared into the bathroom to change, I rolled my eyes, all that modesty after earlier exposure. Need a toothbrush? I called through the door. We ended up brushing side by side, our reflections forming a mismatched pair, his crisp white shirt against my sundress, my head barely reaching his jawline. Blood-tinged foam suddenly bloomed in his sink. Ethan, your gingivitis. He rinsed calmly. It's nothing. My mind raced with soap opera scenarios as we sat stiffly on the bed. When he finally asked about returning to work at the club, the words tumbled out before I could stop them. Don't go back. He studied me. Unreadable. The morning sunlight caught gold flecks in his eyes that I'd never noticed before. Somewhere downstairs, a neighbor's blender whirred to life, shattering the fragile moment. Without a second thought, I refused. I quickly unplugged my charging phone, turned it on, and hastily added Ethan's contact, transferring him 10,000 yuan. I insisted. The money's sent. Don't go entertaining other women anymore. After a pause, I softened my tone. Okay? Ethan studied me silently before lowering his gaze. Fine. During breakfast, I couldn't resist whispering, Ethan, maybe find another job? How could someone so prideful degrade himself to selling smiles for money? His spoon stilled briefly before he calmly replied, I need the money. He offered no explanation, and I dared not press further. When leaving for the cafe, Ethan followed like a shadow. My time belongs to you now, he stated matter-of-factly when questioned. Naturally, I welcomed his company. At the cafe, Ethan's crisp white shirt and quiet presence behind the counter drew flocks of customers. His obsidian eyes held unspoken stories, magnetic even in stillness. Some people simply radiate light. Since adolescence, no one else had ever captivated me like Ethan did. During lulls, I'd steal glances at his profile, nostalgia washing over me. We'd known each other for years, high school classmates turned university peers, until he mysteriously dropped out sophomore year. The golden boy who once outshone everyone now stood beside me, more luminous than ever. Rumors had always swirled around Ethan. Orphaned young. The vicious gossip peaked when whispers spread about him being kept by an older woman during high school. He never denied it. and crowds parted around him like he carried plague. Only I, stubborn to a fault, chased him relentlessly for 5 years through the storm of whispers. I still remember his first words when I publicly confessed, "Aren't you afraid of the rumors, little girl?" Fearless, I declared. When you love someone, fear doesn't exist. How bold that girl had been, nothing like the cowardly me needing liquid courage to proposition him now. Business boomed with female patrons flocking in, yet their hungry stares unsettled me. Closing early, I brought Ethan home only to falter again. He sat obediently on my bed, those clear eyes stripping away my resolve. My shameful intentions felt like sacrilege against his purity. "Getting drinks," I announced, scrambling for an escape. Ethan returned with liquor and groceries. "What are you doing?" I blinked as he tied an apron. "Cooking," he replied, moving to the kitchen. "Empty stomach drinking hurts your digestion." With that, Ethan added another reminder, "Make sure to eat on time from now on." His words melted my heart. I hurried into the kitchen and gathered the courage to ask, "So, does this mean you care about me?" Ethan smiled, his features softening. "You can take it that way." I grinned. "Then I'll consider this him caring about me." Ethan's cooking skills were excellent. Sitting on the couch watching TV, I heard clattering sounds from the kitchen before he emerged with 2 dishes and soup: braised eggplant, garlic choy sum, and tomato egg drop soup. Simple home-style meals. Yet I couldn't stop eating. Wow. My crush really is the perfect package: handsome, top of his class back in school, and even cooks like a pro. After eating, I remembered the untouched alcohol in the bedroom but decided against it. Better not, I'll burst if I drink more. Ethan wouldn't let me help clean up. Later, we curled up on the sofa binge-watching dramas. Though I couldn't focus. Having the guy I've loved for years this close, hearing his breath, feeling his warmth, glimpsing his sharp jawline and shifting Adam's apple made my heart race uncontrollably. When passionate kissing scenes flashed on screen, I nervously licked my lips and turned to him. "Ethan, could you kiss me?" Blushing furiously, I met his gaze. He paused, then smiled. "Sure." His lips met mine tenderly, hands cradling my face with such care I almost believed I was his cherished treasure. As the kiss deepened, I tentatively tugged his collar. Ethan stiffened momentarily, gripping then releasing my hand. Though expecting our night to progress naturally, Ethan gently refused. In bed, he held me fully clothed. "Sleep," he murmured hoarsely. I didn't understand the fleeting pain in his eyes, nor whether he'd ever felt anything for me. But being held by him, stealing soft kisses, surpassed my wildest dreams. Nestling closer, I whispered, "Good night, Ethan," heart overflowing. The clean apartment still smelled of our meal. Cradled in Ethan's arms with his steady breathing, I wished this moment could last centuries. Just as I thought he wouldn't respond, his voice rumbled, "Good night, Luna." Hearing my name from him sparked instant butterflies. My uncommon surname had made Ethan smile during our first high school meeting. "Suits you." That initial grin had sealed my fate. Lost in memories, I felt Ethan's breath warm my ear. "What are you thinking about?" Looking up, I met his obsidian eyes swirling with unreadable emotions. I looked at Ethan and smiled, thinking that saying was true. You really shouldn't meet someone too extraordinary when you're young, or the rest of your life will never know peace. Ethan didn't speak, only tightened his arm around me slightly. After a long silence, Ethan and I began living together without clearly defining our relationship. Since my parents lived in the city but were constantly busy with work and never visited, I never formally introduced Ethan to my friends. First, I wasn't technically his girlfriend and had no right to make introductions. Second, I harbored some selfishness. Ethan seemed too perfect, and part of me wanted to keep him hidden away from the world. So I secretly paid Ethan an exorbitant $10 000 daily as part of the sugar baby arrangement. Yet aside from the transactional premise, we acted like any normal couple, except for one thing. Ethan never touched me. He'd hold me until I fell asleep, kiss me tenderly while cradling my face, but never crossed that line. Once, I even faked slipping in the shower, crying out about twisting my ankle. He rushed in blushing, carried me to bed, then left my pajamas neatly folded before exiting the room. After that failed attempt, I stopped trying. Maybe he just didn't love me. Someone like Ethan probably had emotional reservations. Forcing intimacy with someone he didn't care for might have felt unbearable. And since I loved him so deeply, how could I push him? Having him stay with me was already enough. Though soon, I couldn't afford him anymore. At $10,000 daily, my savings would last barely 10 days. Fate intervened. On the 10th night of our arrangement, Ethan's phone rang at 2:10 a.m. He never silenced it, as if fearing to miss something vital. The ringing jolted him upright, hands seizing the device. I only caught the caller's final words, "It's critical, come now." Hanging up, Ethan dressed wordlessly, face stormy with urgency I'd never seen. "Ethan," I whispered, scrambling up. "What's wrong?" He didn't answer. Maybe didn't even hear me. Alarmed, I threw on clothes while he bolted for the door. "Ethan!" I yelled, grabbing a jacket. He paused at the threshold, glancing back at me, one foot in a slipper, the other bare on cold tiles. "An emergency," he said hoarsely. "Sleep. Don't wait up. Let me come," I pleaded, shoving into shoes. "I'll stay out of the way." He studied me, then brushed hair from my face, thumb grazing my cheekbone. "Put proper shoes on. Nights get chilly." We hailed a taxi, watching his tense profile during the ride. I remembered that look, the same tender compassion he'd shown me months ago at the karaoke bar. The driver sped through empty streets to our destination, the city's top cancer hospital. Realization prickled my neck. Ethan had no family. Who else would drive him to work as an escort for medical bills? He sprinted through the entrance, me panting behind, until we skidded to a stop outside the emergency room. Ethan stared at the lit operating room lights, his fists clenched. For reasons I couldn't fathom, there seemed to be desperate hope in his gaze as he looked through the glass. Standing behind him, I wondered about the life experiences that had shaped this version of Ethan. We didn't exchange a single word during the endless wait. I considered asking about the person inside, but ultimately stayed silent. When the surgery lights finally dimmed, Ethan instantly rushed toward the emerging doctor. The physician's apologetic headshake made his broad shoulders sag visibly. Medical staff wheeled out a middle-aged woman toward a recovery room. My breath caught. I recognized her. Years ago, campus rumors claimed Ethan was being kept by a wealthy woman 15 years his senior. The grainy photos circulating online matched the gaunt patient perfectly. Acid churned in my stomach. Was this why he'd swallowed his pride to work as a male escort? Did my daily $10,000 payments fund her treatments? The hospital room door remained ajar. From my vantage point, I watched Ethan kneel by the bed. His usually rigid posture collapsed as he clutched her hand. When the woman turned toward me with a weak smile, Ethan followed her gaze with bloodshot eyes. Their final exchange lasted mere minutes before he embraced her still form. He moved through subsequent formalities with terrifying composure, summoning nurses, watching the gurney roll to the morgue, silently driving us home through dawn's first light. Lying beside him in our shared bed, I finally cracked, "Were you two really involved?" The question hung between us, heavy with her final knowing glance. Ethan's silence answered louder than words. I couldn't describe that look in his eyes, yet couldn't forget it. But I never expected Ethan to react so strongly. He abruptly sat up, gaze lowered as he stared at me. "Luna," he said, I don't want to hear those words again. I'd never seen Ethan's face turn so cold, leaving me momentarily stunned. After what felt like ages, he seemed to regain composure, leaning forward to encircle me in his arms, his voice softening. Luna, others might doubt me, might slander me, but you have to believe me. I nodded numbly. Yet while demanding my trust, he offered no explanation about his past. Not a single word. Still, I had to admit Ethan truly understood me. He knew I'd be the one person in this world to believe him unconditionally. The next day, Ethan held a funeral for her. The cemetery plot had been purchased long in advance, and it was from the tombstone that I learned her name, Emily. The middle-aged woman appeared to have no relatives or friends. The ceremony was starkly simple, with Ethan alone wearing mourning attire to bid her final farewell. And me, of course. Throughout the service, we didn't exchange a single word, quietly seeing off this stranger amidst heavy silence. Afterward, we left without speaking. The unbroken quiet terrified me, without obligations or restraints now. Would he leave? I dared not ask, fearing the answer. Yet ultimately, Ethan broke the silence first. On the crowded street, he suddenly grabbed my hand. I froze, halting mid-step but keeping my eyes lowered. "Do you have any money left?" he asked. I clenched my jaw. "Yes, I do." But, remembering my strained circumstances, I ventured. "Could we make it cheaper now?" Ethan laughed softly, a soundless chuckle crinkling his eyes, warmth blooming in their depths. "Sure. $1 a day. Affordable?" After prolonged hesitation, I nodded. "Then, could I get a lifetime VIP membership?" At lifetime, his expression flickered with something indecipherable. Still smiling, he gently squeezed my hand. "All right." A cold breeze swept through the streets. Rubbing my fingers lightly, he tucked our joined hands into his coat pocket. "Let's go home." Dazed, I followed his lead. Truthfully, I'd never imagined hearing those words from him. Home. Inside the pocket. My fingers curled around his. Yes. Let's go home. Together. That night, we both drank. The room reeked of alcohol. Empty bottles littering the floor. Rubbing his temples, Ethan murmured, "Headache. Let's sleep. I'll clean up tomorrow." Okay. I'd never refuse him anything. Lying side by side. He in shirt and slacks. Me in a cotton camisole nightgown. The distance between us felt unbearable. Lifting his arm, I rolled into his embrace. Our recent closeness and the alcohol's warmth made even bolder gestures seem permissible. Yet as I contemplated deepening our intimacy, he began unraveling his secrets, his past, and the truth about Emily. It was my first time seeing Ethan smoke. Propped on one elbow with me cradled against him, he retrieved cigarettes and a lighter from the nightstand, lighting one with practiced ease. "Luna, those rumors are all bullshit." I looked up in shock. Yet I seemed to see an entirely different Ethan. After knowing him for years as that arrogant, aloof man of few words, this was the first time I'd witnessed him smoking and cursing. Strangely, this version of Ethan felt more real to me. After sharing a bed for so many nights, only today did I truly feel the living, breathing humanity of the person beside me. He took a drag from his cigarette, turning to me through the haze. Emily wasn't some middle-aged lover 20 years my senior. She was my second mother. His voice trembled with suppressed emotion as he began unraveling a long, heavy story. When Ethan lost both parents in middle school, relatives plundered the inheritance, leaving him homeless. Emily, a complete stranger, took him in. Though she'd never met Ethan, she'd known his father. Her profession? The kind where women earn men's money. Lonely and childless. She quit that life after bringing Ethan home. Can't have my boy hanging his head in shame, she'd said. Her savings could have bought comfort, but she hoarded every penny for Ethan's education. As his cigarette burned down to the filter, Ethan turned bloodshot eyes to me. Don't you wonder why she did all this? I nodded, guilt twisting my stomach over my previous suspicions. His bitter laugh hung in the air. Emily loved my father for years, quietly, selflessly. She entered that life because his throat worked. When Dad's business failed, he nearly killed himself. An orphan herself, she sold her body to save him. But when she brought the money, he'd already married your gold-digging socialite mother. My breath caught. Were they? Ethan stubbed out the cigarette. Unrequited. Always. Lighting another, he continued through the smoke. The night she took me in, Emily confessed she'd miscarried a client's son years before. Seeing me on the streets, if my boy had lived, she said, he'd be about your age. His fingers whitened around the cigarette. Luna, do you think she waited her whole damn life to hear Mom? My arms tightened around him. She heard you. I know she did. We talked through the night, past wounds and present pains. But never futures. Maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe vulnerability's dangerous allure. But our lips met with new desperation. My hands fisted in his shirt as the kiss deepened, heart pounding like it might escape my ribs. When he pulled away at the brink, his refusal came rough with restraint. We can't. Luna. Why? The word cracked between us. I opened my eyes to look at Ethan. Genuinely disappointed this time. Ethan. It's not like this is our first time. Weren't we together that first night I brought you home? What just happened between us was completely natural. Why can't we? But Ethan remained silent. He wordlessly adjusted my shoulder strap, his fingertips brushing against my skin with lingering warmth. Ethan. What are you really running from? Don't tell me you felt nothing earlier. I knew he had. Our faces had been so close I'd clearly seen that flicker of affection in his eyes. He pulled me into his embrace, chin resting atop my head as he sighed. I'm sorry, Luna. We can't. That same refusal again. This man knew he had me wrapped around his finger. Hence the audacious rejection. I stayed quiet in his arms for what felt like eternity before finally mimicking his sigh. Fine. It's not like I'm some ravenous beast desperate to devour you. That night, we slept holding each other. Strangely, despite hearing his heartbeat so close, I couldn't shake the growing sensation that he was drifting further away. Ethan. I mumbled drowsily as sleep claimed me. Are you keeping secrets? Something told me this went beyond the Emily situation. No answer came until I was nearly unconscious. When his whisper ghosted over my ear so faint it might have been imagination. Luna, if I said yes, would you forgive me? I wanted to protest, to demand full honesty, but sleep dragged me under before I could respond. Sunlight streamed through uncurtained windows when I awoke in Ethan's arms at 9 a.m. Morning rays highlighted his features, making me catch my breath. Even after all these years, ordinary mornings still stunned me with his beauty. Before Ethan, I'd never imagined such perfection could exist, that aloof elegance. That unwavering posture cutting through crowds like an ivory tower among shacks. Gender swapped. He'd be the ethereal ice queen from martial arts epics. He blinked awake, amusement dancing in those eyes before he leaned in to brush his lips against mine. Still sleep-addled, I touched my mouth and blurted, "Was that part of your job description?" Ethan paused, then sat up with a chuckle. "You can take it that way." Typical ambiguous response. These days I'd stopped overanalyzing his evasiveness. Why bother? However vague, he was here now. Compared to 5 years of unrequited longing, getting to kiss him and steal casual embraces felt like stolen paradise. After exchanging cheesy morning sweet talk and reluctantly extracting myself from his arms, we brushed teeth side by side. That's when I noticed his reflection frighteningly pale. "Ethan," I nudged closer. Toothpaste foam dribbling down my chin. "You look unwell." "Bad lighting." He deflected. But I couldn't ignore how his arms had grown thinner. "You need to eat more," I insisted, playfully pinching his cheek. "Healthy guys need some meat." He smiled through my nagging. "Noted." Breakfast brought Ethan's standard toast and eggs, though he'd added pepper sausages today. To reassure me, he cleaned both plates, even my leftover egg. Watching him dutifully finish my scraps like some picture-perfect boyfriend, I pinched myself under the table. If this was a dream, I never wanted to wake up. However, after dinner, when Ethan rushed to do the dishes as usual, he suddenly covered his mouth and ran to the bathroom. He didn't close the door in time, so I followed. The sound of retching made my heart ache. I hurried over to pat his back. But before I could steady myself, Ethan pushed me away with a backward motion. After catching his breath, he said hoarsely, "Wait outside." "I'm fine." "But I don't mind." Out. Reluctantly, I left, poured him a glass of warm water, and waited by the door. Soon, the toilet flushed, followed by the sound of running water as he washed up. When he emerged, droplets clung to his freshly rinsed face, his complexion still pale. I handed him the water. "You've been unwell lately. Let's skip the cafe today and go to the hospital." "No need." He took a sip, smiling faintly. "Just a stomach bug. I'll grab meds from the pharmacy later." "Really?" "Why would I lie?" He drank calmly before returning to finish the dishes. Convinced by his normal demeanor, I shrugged it off. After all, my own reckless eating habits often led to similar issues. At the cafe, Ethan's presence had turned my once trendy spot into a sensation. Customers secretly filmed him, and in our looks-obsessed world, his striking features made him an overnight internet darling. Swarms of girls flocked to see him, though slightly jealous. I swelled with pride. My Ethan was this radiant, this magnetic. Sure, others adored his appearance, but I'd loved him for nearly 8 years. Chasing him for 5. I cherished every part of him, soul deep. Lately, Ethan had grown tender, dangerously so. Melting under his warmth, I began pressing. "Ethan, have you ever felt anything for me? Let's stop pretending this is transactional. Be real with me. You do like me a little, right?" He'd only ruffle my hair. Silent. He knew I'd never push too hard, and I let him evade each time. Yet his actions whispered affection. On crisp autumn days, he'd drape his jacket over me, cradling my hand as we strolled. When I casually mentioned a new bakery to my friend Mei Mei, he disappeared for an hour, returning with their entire menu. His phone wallpaper? A sunset-kissed photo of us mid-kiss. One I'd taken on a whim using a timer. Every kiss felt sacred, his hands cupping my face like I was porcelain. Just as I dared hope he'd fallen for me, fate intervened. One frost-dusted morning, I woke to find Ethan collapsed on the floor. My breath vanished, heart clawing up my throat. My mind went blank. I don't even remember dialing 911. All I knew was that after rushing Ethan Clark to the hospital in a daze and enduring endless tests, my world shattered when they told me he had terminal stomach cancer. I couldn't believe it. How could this happen to Ethan, that aloof, swan-like boy who embodied everything beautiful in this world? Why had fate served him this death sentence? But Ethan had known all along. When he woke up in the hospital room, he simply stared at me for a few seconds before smiling, reaching up to wipe my tears. His touch remained heartbreakingly gentle. "Did I scare you?" he asked softly. Each word made my throat tighten. So he'd known. The paleness, the bloody toothbrush, the vomiting, none of it had been minor. That's why he'd never discussed our future or made promises. That's why his eyes had held such sorrow when I drunkenly offered to support him financially at karaoke that night. I studied his face, translucent skin stretched over sharp cheekbones. Lips tinged blue. When our eyes met, he chuckled hoarsely. Meant to keep hiding it until I could disappear quietly. Pathetic. Collapsing like this. His attempt at humor only made me cry harder. Why didn't you tell me? Why refuse treatment? My voice broke as I gripped his hand. He ruffled my hair like always. The gesture achingly familiar. It's pointless. Luna. Treatment would have drained your savings for nothing. His smile turned bitter. Besides, I never planned to fight it. Red-rimmed eyes met mine. My biggest regret? Saying yes that night at karaoke. My breath hitched. Why? Trembling fingers continued tousling my hair. Took your money but can't even give you time. You deserve, his voice cracked. If I could redo it, I'd never have agreed. He turned away. Tears splashing onto the hospital sheets. I'd never seen Ethan cry, not even at Emily's funeral. Each droplet scorched my soul. My God was slipping away. And I could only watch. 3 days later, Ethan insisted on going home. He didn't know I'd started liquidating my assets to fund experimental treatments. When I secretly consulted his oncologist, the truth gutted me. It's everywhere. The doctor sighed. Let him enjoy his remaining time. Packing his hospital room through blurred vision, I felt his hand cover mine. Let's go home. The Uber ride passed in silence. At our building, he stubbornly grabbed the grocery bag from me. I'm not dead yet, can't have my girl carrying things. His weak chuckle shattered me. I didn't fight as he took the bag in his left hand, his right never letting go of mine. In truth, these past few days I'd repeatedly wanted to ask Ethan whether he'd ever truly felt anything for me. Yet I always swallowed the words. What difference did it make anyway? Love or no love? Affection or indifference, it all ended with departure. Knowing he'd loved me might only make the heartache sharper. When we returned home, Ethan set down the grocery bags and turned to face me. I found myself avoiding his gaze. But he cradled my face in his hands, compelling me to meet his eyes. Ethan was usually gentle. This uncharacteristic intensity caught me off guard. The moment our eyes locked, tears began falling without warning. I tried to stop them, but seeing his face so close, the floodgates opened completely. He watched me cry for 2 endless seconds before sighing softly, thumbs brushing away tears. He leaned in to kiss me. It was achingly tender, leaving me trembling and breathless. My arms instinctively wound around his neck as the kiss deepened. Yet ultimately, nothing more happened between us. Let's drink tonight, Ethan suggested. I immediately protested. The doctor said, his calm gaze stopped me. Let me live without restraints these final days. I've spent my whole life holding back. That phrase dashed my whole life stabbed through me. He was only in his 20s. How could this already be his lifetime? I couldn't refuse him. We compromised on 2 beers. Changing into warmer clothes, we walked to the supermarket hand in hand like any ordinary couple. Shopping carts, produce inspections, playful debates over prices. We filled the cart with groceries, snacks, and whimsical home goods. A ceramic bird toothpick holder that dipped its beak when pressed. Pale blue dried flowers in glass vases, fragile beauty mirroring Ethan's essence. At checkout, he insisted on paying. Let me do this, he said, heaving both heavy bags. Hundreds of days together, and I've bought you nothing. The walk home revealed his declining strength. 5 minutes became an ordeal with 4 rest stops. My attempts to help were gently declined. Don't. He smiled painfully. Let me feel useful. In the kitchen, his culinary skills transformed ingredients while I washed vegetables. Stealing glances at his back. This domestic bliss, how I prayed for more time. Not years. Just days. Tears fell silently into the sink's rushing water as he cooked. Dinner became the most agonizing meal of my life. Across from this white-shirted man moved by death's shadow. One thought consumed me: how do you say goodbye to sunlight? How could someone so wonderful be given a death sentence? How? But I didn't dare show my sorrow, afraid of making Ethan feel worse. Like the doctor said, every day Ethan had left was a countdown, and I needed to make him smile through them all. Yet my carefully maintained composure shattered instantly because of one sentence he said. During dinner, he peeled a mountain of shrimp for me before sliding the bowl across the table. His voice softened. After I'm gone, promise you'll still eat regular meals. I completely broke then, tears plopping into my rice bowl. I kept my head down, shoveling mouthfuls of tear-salted rice that tasted like heartbreak. That became the most unforgettable day of my life. Ethan and I went grocery shopping together, cooked dinner, shared drinks. I drank way too much. I remember drunkenly kissing him over and over, slurring, "Ethan, has any other girl ever kissed you like this?" He laughed between kisses. "Only you." The sunset blazed gold that evening, the night stars glittering brilliantly. My memories get hazy after all that alcohol. I vaguely recall drifting to sleep with Ethan's voice murmuring in my ear. "Luna, I'm sorry I never reciprocated your feelings. Truth is, I felt the same way all along. So, sorry we have to say goodbye now." He might have said more, but blackness swallowed me whole. When I woke, everything had changed. Sunlight streamed through empty rooms. I searched barefoot but found no trace of Ethan, only a letter on the dining table. My heart plummeted seeing that envelope. True enough. The signature at the bottom froze my blood. Ethan's final words. The stationery slipped from trembling fingers, glaringly white against the wood. I'd prepared for his eventual decline, but never imagined he'd choose to leave so soon. Before I could read the letter, police called. They'd found his body in a deserted park corner. Massive sleeping pill overdose. His phone only had my number saved. Hanging up, I mechanically pocketed the letter and stumbled outside barefoot. The empty hallway echoed with my sudden wails. What devastated me wasn't his death itself. I understood preferring this peaceful exit over prolonged suffering. What shattered me was him choosing that lonely park corner. He'd sold the home he once shared with Emily for her medical bills. Even at life's end, this beautiful soul had nowhere to go. No hotel room. Not even my apartment, just some forgotten patch of grass under indifferent stars. I crouched sobbing in the hallway until neighbors peeked out. Apologies formed in my mind, but tears kept falling. Hours? Days? Then, "Luna, you look awful when you cry." My head snapped up. For one wild heartbeat I hoped, but the corridor stretched empty. No Ethan. Never again. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that Ethan was still here. His presence lingered in some unseen corner. Those gentle eyes watching me. Taking a deep breath, I steadied myself against the wall. The reality settled in. I needed to handle Ethan's final arrangements. In this world, I was all he had left. At the police station, I saw him lying there in a crisp white dress shirt buttoned meticulously to the second button, sleeves casually rolled up. His face held serene composure, free from any trace of illness. Lips even curved in the faintest smile. How cruel he was. How could he vanish overnight after letting me drift into that blissful dream where he still existed? He denied me even a proper goodbye. The boy I'd loved for years had chosen this unilateral farewell, the most tender yet merciless soul I'd ever known. That night, trembling hands reopened his letter spanning 3 pages in familiar handwriting that shattered my heart line by line. Luna. Forgive this impersonal farewell. There's so much I wish to say, yet words fail me. Truthfully, I've always been a coward, unworthy of your radiant affection. In school, my silence stemmed from fear of tarnishing your light, fear of my circumstances. You were always extraordinary to me, Luna. The most extraordinary. You never loved alone. My feelings surpassed anyone's, yet remained unspoken. How could I, the scholarship student shrouded in rumors, approach the campus princess adored by all? My tuition came from Emily's sacrifices, a woman sharing no blood relation who sold her dignity to keep me in school. Countless times I nearly confessed. But your crystalline gaze, the kind only nurtured by unconditional love, silenced me. I told myself everything would improve after college. But rumors persisted, and Emily's terminal diagnosis arrived. I dropped out sophomore year to work multiple jobs, repaying her kindness. Cutting ties with you was the hardest choice. Yet I couldn't drag you into my turmoil. Still, I watched from shadows. Fake accounts let me follow your achievements, design competition wins, internships, graduation, your cafe opening. Each milestone filled me with bittersweet pride. Then came my stomach cancer diagnosis. Advanced stage. Rapid metastasis. Fate mocked me, no matter how hard I fought. Life granted no reprieve. When Emily's treatments drained my savings, I took that humiliating club job, only to encounter you there on my first shift. That night haunts me. Liquid courage lowered my defenses. Knowing death loomed near, I still kissed you, followed you home, accepted your money, my deepest shame. Yet seeing you again made me wonder, was this fate's cruel mercy? Letting me glimpse heaven before the end? You were intoxicated, but I couldn't bring myself to take advantage. My expiration date loomed, yours stretches into decades filled with love and weddings. The bloodstain? My own fingers doing. I expected outrage. Hoped you'd banish me. Instead, you offered quiet understanding. Our stolen months became sacred. Every touch, every kiss, I cherished them as final moments. Emily's passing shattered me. Yet being with you, asterisk throughout my life. I've experienced several partings through life and death. I understand this pain all too well. Lately I've begun wondering, what would become of you if I were to leave someday? Would you grieve? Would you hide away to cry secretly? Would you forget to eat properly? Would you ever find someone else to treat you with tenderness? My heart aches at the thought. Yet I know departure is inevitable. Especially these past months. My body's been failing me. So many days I've had to push through sheer willpower. Remember that time I threw up in the bathroom? I shouted at you to leave, I'm sorry for being so harsh. But I couldn't let you see the bloodstains in the toilet. Luna, forgive my selfishness. I didn't want you remembering me as that gaunt shadow being devoured by illness. In your memories, let me remain the young man who loved crisp white shirts, kept his black hair short, and smiled at you with endless warmth. Forgive my cowardice too. I could only slip away while you slept. Facing a proper goodbye would have shattered my resolve. By the time you read this letter, I'll already be gone. Don't cry yet, please believe me when I say I left content. Truly. Because I departed on the happiest day of my life. I finally went grocery shopping with the girl I'd secretly loved for years. We cooked together, shared meals and drinks, even kissed. I felt complete. My long journey to end things this way was meant to spare you, and everyone, any burden. Luna, you know I have no family or friends. You're the only soul anchoring me to this world. So don't let my departure haunt you. All right? I won't insult you with hollow platitudes about moving on. But when memories of me surface, let them only be joyful ones. Let my existence have gifted you warmth, not sorrow. More than anything, don't let my absence steal your capacity to love. You're so young. There are beautiful souls waiting to meet you. If one appears, don't turn them away for my sake. Should that day come, tuck me safely in your memories and love them fully. Losing you to grief would terrify me more than being forgotten. Ethan's final words. The letter stretched for pages. Yet I read every syllable without shedding a tear. Strangely, I smiled through Ethan's posthumous confession, mirroring the serenity he'd shown when leaving. Perhaps he never realized his departure didn't diminish my ability to love. Instead, knowing him taught me to cherish everyone. Having loved someone so profoundly gentle, his warmth will forever heal life's future wounds. Smiling, I folded the letter and glanced outside. The moon hung bright as Ethan's eyes once did. Ethan, I'll remember you. And I'll love others well in the days ahead. Yet, despite the smile, tears fell regardless. Must have been the open window letting dust in.